Are you wondering what the best lens is to start sports photography? This is it, and I'm going to tell you why. You know, I think there's a point in everybody's journey in sports photography where you may have started off with that basic camera, the consumer grade camera, the kit lens that came with it, and sooner or later you discover you're just not getting the photos you want. You know, you see these great photos in the newspapers or websites or magazines, you're saying, why can't I get anything like that? And you realize sooner or later it very well may be the lens you're working with. And the camera too, but most likely it's the lens you're working with. And so you start looking around, you start asking, okay, what's the next step? Where do I go to? What is the first real good sports photography lens I should start with? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's this one right here. Not necessarily this one. This is a Nikon 70-200 2.8. When I say start it with it, I mean that focal length, 70-200 f2.8. And I'm going to explain to you why you want to start off with this particular lens. First of all, if you've got a crop frame camera already, this 70-200 is roughly equivalent to like a 105-300 in a full-size frame. So 300, that's pretty darn good for, you know, that's a pretty good length for field sports. And that 105 on the back end, it's good for the shorter range stuff. If you start adding extenders like a 1.4X, you're looking at 98 to 280 f4, which again, not bad, and those are full frame sizes right there. These particular lenses, you know, they're not going to be cheap. I'm going to tell you that right now. The new original manufacturer, Canon, Nikon, Sony, you're looking about between $2,300, $2,600 a piece. Now that's not a drop in the bucket, but you're looking at a professional level, solidly built, can handle the elements, weather, rain, that kind of thing. That's what you're looking at right there. Those kit lenses that came with it, you know, they're all plasticky and they're not going to hold up to the elements. They're just not. Something else you could think about is you don't have to buy new. So that $2,300 you buy used, you may be looking at half that price. Another option is to look at maybe the Tamron and Sigma lenses. Those run even brand new about $1,200 to $1,400. And those both have good reputations. And I wouldn't turn my nose up at them at all. So why do I say this is the perfect focal length? Well, if you're doing indoor sports, you know, basketball, wrestling, badminton, volleyball, this is the perfect length. 70-200, you can get all the action, basically with basketball all the way at least to half court. And anything that's in closer in, assuming you're sitting like on the baseline or something like that, volleyball, it's perfect length for volleyball. I use it all the time for volleyball. I use it all the time for basketball. It's the perfect length. Also, you want that f2.8 because if you want to be shooting indoors, you're going to need that extra f-stop. It's do sell it in f4, but you're giving up a lot for that little bit of money that you save getting that f4 lens. If you're really going to go that route, you really want to save money, like I said, buy used. Also, that 70-200, it's about the right starting length for field sports. It's not perfect, you know, 300, 400, that's better. However, if you wait until the action gets closer to you, 200 is fine. I could tell you in my own life, early in my career, as a young photojournalist, working for a series of small newspapers in northern Arizona, all I could afford was a 180-2.8 was my longest lens. At the time, I wasn't so crazy about zooms. I liked primes, but zooms are much better now than they were back then. Anyway, I had that 180. I shot football all the time with that thing. Not the greatest length. I had to wait till they were right on top of me, but I got those shots. If you look at professional photographers on the sidelines at even college pro football games, what you'll see is they'll have the big 400, 600 lenses. And then hanging off to the side, they'll have another body with a 70-200 2.8 for the close-in stuff. So definitely 70-200 could work on field sports. You know, football, soccer, any other field sports. I'm going to tell you it's a little limited for baseball. Not as bad for softball because the distances are much shorter. Baseball, you're pretty limited, and you're probably going to be wishing you had something longer when it comes to baseball. There's also some outdoor sports that the 70-200 is just about right for. For example, beach volleyball or sand volleyball as they call it. I shot that recently and it was perfect. I didn't need anything longer than that. running events, track and field. I personally do a lot of photography for a company that runs 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathon, marathons. 7200 is all I ever use. I never use anything longer than that. Occasionally I'll use something a little shorter actually for group photos, but 7200 is exactly what I need. The other thing is this length is just a great overall length for general photography. You may have heard of this thing called the holy trinity of lenses. Well, the 70-200 is one of those. The other two that fall into that category is the a 24-70 or something that comes close to that, which is, so it's just a little bit shorter than the 70-200. The other one that falls into that holy trinity that people talk about is, in this case, a 14-24 Nikon. Of the three, I use the 70-200 pretty much the most. The 24-70 does get some work for like championships games where there's a lot of emotion afterwards and everybody's running around and they're all happy and you want to get up close and people are high-fiving and everything. It works great for that. But other than that, the 70-200 gets the most of the work. This 14-24, I originally bought it for real estate. I don't really do too much real estate and I don't think I've ever used it for sports, so maybe selling it soon if you're interested. But besides the fact that it's part of the so-called holy trinity, it's a great portrait lens. So if you're doing portrait photography, wedding photography, that kind of thing, 70-200 falls in just perfect with that. Highly recommend. So bottom line, as far as great lenses to get started with in photography, to take it to the next level, not just sports, but just photography in general, you really can't do much worse or much better than a 70-200 2.8. Highly recommend it. All right, everybody, if you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you being here. Make sure you hit that like and feel free to comment below. I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. If you're new to the channel and you like what you saw, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. And while you're at it, here's a couple other videos that I think you'll like.